Uh, Pleased to be joined with the nominal appearance fee of Dunkin' Donut and some Vienna coffee with Austin Bornheim. He's my replacement. He's the sports editor at the Daily Times. Took over a couple weeks ago. And wanted to start off, Austin, what is the biggest thing you've learned becoming the coach of the sports department in your first week on the job?
I guess I just really didn't know how much you did, Marcus. I appreciate
answer.
you even more now. No, but yeah, it's just the little stuff on the desk is it's coming up. All the scheduling, all that kind of stuff is probably the biggest thing I've learned. But it's been good so far. It's been a lot of work. Just trying to get my feet wet, get used to it. But I'm excited about it. It's been nice.
You've been the UT beat writer for us for a while, and you've been over there most of the time. You've seen what's been going on with camp. What's the biggest surprise so far out of camp, in your opinion, of what we've seen from UT so far?
For me in camp, and I mean, there's only so much you see over there during these camps this early in the season. But I've been surprised how impactful the freshmen have been. I think the biggest thing people have talked about is the experience Tennessee has coming back this season. But those freshmen have actually pushed those upperclassmen, and some of those guys are going to be vying for some playing time. Maybe not week one, but in a couple weeks into the season, maybe like you saw like a Darren Kirkland last year. A guy like a Nigel Warrior or a Balin Buchanan in the secondary. So those guys have really impressed me. And then a guy like Jonathan Kongbo, who's just an absolute monster of a human being.
We had the injury this week with Chance Hall. How did that impact the way things were kind of stacking up on that offensive line? Have you gotten a good feel from the coaches as to what the impact of that's going to be?
Yeah, I think in the immediate impact, obviously the battle to determine who their two tackles are going to be, I would say at this point is pretty much decided now. If Chance Hall is going to be out, I'd say you can pretty much pencil in Drew Richmond over the left tackle and have Brett Kendrick at right tackle. They're still working some other guys around, like Coleman Thomas, who was the starting center last year, is working a little bit more at tackle right now, just to have some versatility up front. It's just something they like. A guy like Vinzel Boulware has been working a little bit more as well. So I think you'll see some new guys hop into a role just for depth purposes. But right now, I think when you go into the season, they've, at this point, just because of the injury, have decided who their starters are going to be.
One of the things that kind of rolled around on you this first week was the announcements out of UT from Dave Hart announcing his retirement in a year. Did that catch you off guard, or had that been kind of in the rumor mill over the last couple of weeks?
It had been the rumor mill that it was probably going to happen. No one was exactly sure when it was going to come down, so a little bit surprised of the timing with it being this close to the season. But yeah, I think it had been kind of rumbled about that he might not be there and might not finish out his contract, which he has about, I think, 14 months or so left on that contract that he had when the extension that he signed in, I believe, 2015. So a little bit of a shock, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, probably makes a little bit more sense to get it out of the way, get that news out of before the season starts, and once Tennessee starts playing games or gets into the game week prep like they're going to start doing beginning of this next week for Appalachian State.
The question that kind of popped in my mind was, does UT actually have a year to hire a replacement? Because when I'm breaking it down in my head, if the Tennessee football team has the kind of season that all the polls are talking about, you have Butch Jones here in December or January, and you've got to try to keep him. Because if Tennessee goes to a bowl game, finishes 10-2, 11-1, something in that category, Butch Jones can be one of the hottest offseason commodities on the market. Do you have to have an athletic director in place to keep him here, or can a lame duck do that kind of contract deal that would keep a Butch Jones in Knoxville?
I think they can keep him here. I think when you look at Butch Jones, and obviously every coach says this, but Tennessee is a destination place for most coaches. When you look at the facilities they have, it's second to none. I mean, it's them in Alabama and those kind of teams, those premier programs across the country, and not many programs are going to be able to offer a coach the resources Tennessee does. And when you look at what Butch Jones has done, he's built up Tennessee, and if they have the season people are thinking, Tennessee's going to be able to compete for the next couple of years in the SEC East with the way it's looking, and be able to get to Atlanta to give themselves a chance, where basically with the way the college playoff system works now, especially for the SEC, is if you're able to get to that SEC championship game and win that game, you have won basically a de facto quarterfinal matchup to get into the college playoff. So Tennessee's put themselves in a position to get to that point this year, and with it looks like the depth to get there in the years to come. So I think Butch Jones would like to stay here. So I think regardless of who you have there, if you're going to give him the right amount of money, he's going to stay. And that's just the way I believe Butch Jones will think going forward.
All right. If you're UT, we're going to grant you authority and power to hire the next AD. Do you look more at a David Blackburn from UTC, or do you look more towards somebody popular with the fan base like a Peyton Manning? Which school of thought do you tend to go to?
I think you get the best athletic director. People, when you first make a hire, regardless of what it is, a coach, if it's an AD, are going to want someone that they trust. People, even when they hired Dave Hart, called it Alabama Dave, they weren't a huge fan of him because he was coming from Alabama. And that's been grumbling up a little bit right now since he's leaving. But in the grand scheme of things, people just want you to be successful. So regardless of where they get the person from, the first couple of weeks, they might not be happy if this guy was an Alabama guy or whatever you're getting him from. He doesn't have Tennessee ties. But if he's able to make the hires from the coaching staff, able to keep coaches here and build the athletic program, in the grand scheme of things, that's all the people care about. So I think you might take a little bit of a PR hit at the beginning, but not much for a hire like that, like a David Blackburn, who does have some ties to Tennessee, but an outside hire like that. But if they're successful in their job, people aren't going to care.
All right, we're going to get to the Marc It Down part of this. We'll give you some topics. You give me a Marc It Down of what we can look for next week, and we'll try to grade you out on social media as we go through the week.
Appreciate it.
Maryville, Fulton, the game's at Fulton. It's on the AstroTurf. It's, as Coach Quarles said earlier on the show, they have the Dobson Memorial before that game. If you have to mark it down, who's going to win that game?
That's going to be an emotional game. I think it's probably going to be one of the toughest games on Maryville's schedule this season, just the emotions that Fulton's going to bring in there. But I think Maryville probably comes away with a win this year, just like they did last year. I think it'll be a little bit closer. Like Coach Quarles was saying earlier, last year's game was closer than the score indicated. It kind of got away from Fulton at the end, just some turnovers, having to go for it on fourth downs on their side of the field. Maryville scoring some quick points there. I think Maryville comes away with a win, but it's going to be pretty tight.
If we wanted to pin you to a number, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 1 field goal.
I'll go 2 scores. I want
2
scores. 2 touchdowns. I'll go 2 scores.
Mark him down for 2 scores. My Marc It Down is it's going to be 2 touchdowns. Maryville's going to win, but this game, Maryville will get more penalties than any other game in the regular season. That's my Marc It Down for the week. But with that, we'll appreciate you for coming in and joining us for Marc It Down. We'll hope you'll come back and become a regular friend of the show. And with that, I'm going to go get a donut because we got another 15 minutes before pizza's ready here at Barley's. So, Mike, come on, take us on back out.
All right, it's time to take a break. And when we return, we'll travel back to August the 20th to relive some baseball memories in the Sports Page Time Capsule. You're listening to the Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.